Now, over the last few days, the courts have had a very difficult time finding jurors for the case against Martin Shkreli. Now, Shkreli is facing several counts of securities fraud for allegedly lying to investors and running a Ponzi scheme across multiple firms. Now, here's what the New York Times has to say about that. Federal prosecutors allege that for 5 years, Shkreli had lied to investors in 2 hedge funds and the biopharmaceutical company Retrofin, all of which he founded. Now, here's what he did, or allegedly did. After losing money on stock bets he made through one hedge fund, Shkreli allegedly started another and used his new investors' money to pay off those who lost money in the first fund. Then, as pressure was building, Shkreli started Retrofin, which was publicly traded, and then used cash and stock from that company to settle with other different disgruntled investors. Now, these charges are fairly serious. That could land him 20 years in prison if he's convicted. Now, that is actually unrelated to why he is one of the most hated men in America. Now, over the past few years, Shkreli has earned that reputation himself by hiking the price of a drug named Daraprim by 5,000%, taking the price of the bill from $7.50 a pill to over $700. Ooh. Now, because of all those factors and why he was so widely known, because again, I've done reports on him, Young Turks have done reports on him, everybody's done reports on him, okay? Detailing how much of a douchebag this guy is. Now, because of all that, turns out having prospective, unbiased jurors was very difficult to find, as the New York Post had reported a couple of days ago. Many potential jurors were ruled out for having overtly negative opinions about the 34-year-old Shkreli. One of them said, quote, "The defendant is the face of corporate greed in America." He's not wrong. That same juror said, "You would have to convince me that he's innocent." Now, that's not how the justice system works. Obviously, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But this guy's such an asshole and has such a reputation that they're like, no, you'd have to convince me the other way around. Obviously, that juror didn't make it onto the jury, okay? Now, another juror said, quote, "I think he's a very evil man." Yet another recalled that as she walked into the courtroom, she had made eye contact with Shkreli and recoiled. "In my head," I said, quote, "That's a snake." Ooh. That's bad, right? Obviously, some of them read about him or, saw the stories in the media or were personally infected by what he actually did. Now, some people had never seen him before and still thought he was a jerk. Now, one of them, when asked by the judge why he couldn't be partial, had answered, "Honestly, because he kind of looks like a dick." I'm sorry, man. I cannot be biased because this guy looks like a fucking dick. He does. I mean, look at the picture. Always with that smirk, right? With that smirk that basically says, "Ha, I'm screwing you over. I'm going to try to find a way to fuck you over." Because that's what I do. Allegedly, at least. Now, eventually, they were able to find some unbiased jurors. However, that process took far longer than it normally does. And had hundreds of jurors, ranging from people who saw him on the news that were personally affected by the price of Daraprim, or again, as I just showed you, people that saw him and were like, "That guy's a dick," or "He's a snake. What an asshole." So, again, yes, he looks like a dick, probably because he is a dick. But at the same time, this is our justice system actually working. And the reason that they had to go through all these prospective jurors and that it was hard to find because they're actually looking to find an unbiased jury pool. Now, that's one of the beautiful things about the American justice system. And while it doesn't always work in some very high-profile cases, jury selection generally tries to get you a jury of your peers that is actually going to give you a fair hearing. Now, look, as much as I don't like Martin Shkreli, I actually do want him to have a fair hearing. Okay? Yeah, I know it's a controversial opinion. Personally, again, I think that he's more than capable of doing something like this, but that's something that the court actually has to work out. They have to present evidence that he screwed people over, that he screwed over the companies and did the securities fraud. So, and of course they have to present that, and the jury has to convict, and have to, you know, find him guilty of doing so. So we'll see what that happens. Obviously, you know the side that I stand on. I'm not on his side. But again, that's why I could never have been a juror. Because it turns out that, look, the more that you know about this guy, the more that you learn, the more that you tend to despise him. So we're going to have to see what happens in this trial. It's actually going to be it's actually going to be very interesting. In fact, I believe it's started today. So we'll be reporting on some of the stuff, because the stuff that I'm seeing already coming out, it looks kind of really interesting. So, hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.